So I saw The Losses in theaters. Now, I wasn't really all that hyped up for this movie. I had a slight interest because of Emma Stone's daughter, so debuted as a director. Now, I didn't read the book, so this is just my thoughts on it as a movie. The positives, I think this movie's well shot when it comes to cinematography. There's some nice visuals in the movie. It's a well shot movie for a debut of a director. And it has an interesting enough setup at the beginning where I was like, okay, I'm intrigued to see where this goes. The negatives with this movie is that I do feel like this movie has some of the issues that her father has with some of his movies at times that are like downfalls for some of his bad movies. And I would like to see her just do something after this that's not horror related to they like a different type of genre or just tell a different type of story. And then another negative with this movie for me is that I think the characters just are not interesting. I didn't care about any of them. And Dakota Fanning, who I think is a good actress, she gives a very just dull performance. Like she's only character that gets some type of backstory in this movie. But even with that, I just felt like there wasn't a whole lot of depth to her character or any of them, even with her character. And the way her character reacts in the situation when the stuff happens just came off very mundane and just kind of like I feel like realistically you'd be freaking out more. I feel like her character just felt very just dull throughout the movie, and that's another thing with this Emma Stone's daughter's director debut is that I feel like this is another thing she has to work on. Is that I don't know if it's the dressing or the writing, or maybe that's how the characters are in the book. Like I said, I haven't read the book, but it did kind of feel like the way the actors were directing this movie, especially Dakota Fanning. I was like, it just felt like there was like no oomph, acting or character in this movie, and any of the characters. Like I said, I didn't care about any of them, and there's some stuff that just don't make logical sense. Like as a movie, here's the thing: as the movie went along, like I said, it has me intrigued at the beginning. As the movie went along, it got less interesting to me, and this movie is just slow. It's a slow paced movie where I was like, I feel like a lot's just not happening, and it just feels like at times like it was just really slow in my opinion. And towards the end, they do a whole expedition dump, which I felt the placement of that was weird when they get into the lore and mythology of these monsters, these monsters, and it gets just a little silly and corny for me. Where I'm just like, this is, and the placement, like I said, is just weird. It places it towards the end where somebody randomly talks about it in a scene, like when they stop and wake up to stop when they're trying to like get out of the woods and they like do a whole expedition dump and it just felt like oddly placed and it gets overcomplicated towards the end when they kept going into the mythology and lore where I had questions. I was like, this just isn't really making complete sense. And even some of the decisions the characters make, I'm like, it's there's just a lot of times where I was like, yeah, that just doesn't really make sense. And it just, like I say, it gets overcomplicated towards the end with this lore, where you're trying to explain too much. And I felt like you should have done that at the beginning. And this movie, at some point when you get out of the woods, I feel like it sort of like it could have ended right there, and it kept going on. I was like, really, this movie's still going, and just it's predictable. I like it wasn't like I wasn't shocked by anything that happened in this movie. I think the creatures designs look decent in this movie, and it's just the way it's like told the story, and just how dull the characters are, and just like I didn't personally feel there was any tension in this movie. Like for me personally, like it just even at the beginning of the movie, like I said, it has like interesting setup. Even though I think he'll decide into because I think she looks at a pet shop at the beginning and she's like taking this parrot somewhere and she gets set out of a car screaming in the woods. I don't think that kind of was a stupid decision. So like I said, there's some decisions in this movie characters make where I'm like logically that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And just overall, like I said, I just never got invested in these characters. And it just gets overcomplicated towards the end with this lore and it just personally it just even how the other characters react in the situation I feel like they don't react with a ton of energy, the characters in this movie at certain points, especially when it comes to Dakota Fannon's character. Like I said, they give her a backstory, but she just comes off dull. And when they find a Haas in this bunker, because you find this professor guy went out there to study these creatures, and he created this bunker. When they find this Haas in the bunker, I'm like, so these other characters have been there for a year, and they never noticed that Hunt Haas that was underneath the rug. The characters have been in that, not like this little bunker or house, whatever. They never noticed that Haas on the like below the rug. They never knocked over by accident before that. So there was just some things where I felt like it didn't completely make sense towards the end for me personally, and like I said, it got overcomplicated with its lore, and it just overall, this movie just didn't land for me. I mean, coming out of this movie, I'm just like, I'm not really all that excited to see what she does next. Maybe she does something outside of horror, but she definitely, to me, has some issues as a first time director where I'm like, there's definitely some stuff I feel like she needs to work on. Like, this wasn't like The Monkey Man, where even though I didn't love that movie, I feel like I came out of that movie when it comes to the actor who directed that movie, which was his director debut. I feel like I came out of that movie going, like, okay, that's a solid enough debut. I didn't wasn't blown away by the Monkey Man, but I was entertained by it. With the Bosses, I was just with this debut for Emma Salone's daughter. I was just like, yeah, she has some definitely director issues she needs to work on in this movie. So overall, I wasn't a fan of the Bosses. I wouldn't personally recommend it. So that's my thoughts on the Bosses. Until next time, movie fans.